Here are some tips on how to do some of that. Is career coach Elizabeth Pearson back with us again. And I thought it was so interesting to talk about the fact that there's the shame, right? You feel as though you did something wrong, and maybe sometimes somebody did. You might have gotten fired for your own behavior, but sometimes it's not about you.
You nailed it, Michaela. There really is. I think in the past, it used to be something that could be stigmatized as you were less than competent, maybe even a little bit lazy. But wonderfully, mindsets are shifting around it because of this unprecedented level of unemployment right now. So it's actually a good thing because it's getting people to tune back into their own compassion, have empathy, and really ask for help and receive help.
Some things to remember. You are not alone. Like, really not alone right now.
You're really not. There's roughly 12.6 million people who are currently unemployed. So if you're somebody who's not sharing with your family, maybe that you were laid off, maybe you were a product of a reorganization, or you were in the service industry and your job has just been unable to be, completed right now, that is something that you shouldn't feel bad about. There's so many other people now more than ever. Even though you might feel physically isolated and even mentally isolated, you are not. You are part of a bigger pool of people who are all in the exact same spot.
Entire industries have been decimated, but at the same time, that very thought that can make you feel better of not being alone can also be a little overwhelming to think, man, this is a tough time to be looking for a job. There's 12.6 million people looking for the same jobs I'm looking for.
Right. But there's the perfect job out there for you. So if you are transparent that you're looking for a job and you reach out to your contacts, you're much more likely to get employment sooner. So LinkedIn has this wonderful new feature that roughly 3 million people are currently using, and it's this open to hire banner that goes on your profile. And that's a great way, just a single signal to your network. Hey guys, I'm looking for new opportunities, and people actually want to help right now. So being transparent will really help you get there.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that we're hearing, just anecdotally here and there, people getting a new job, making a change, finding employment after being laid off for a long time. They're few and far between, but they're out there, so it is happening. And you talked about the important part of this is that this mind shift has gone societally, and maybe that's one of the, we've talked a little bit about some of the silver linings in a terrible, terrible pandemic that has been deadly, is that it has caused us as a society to look at this differently.
Absolutely. The stigma just overall is gone down. Roughly 7 in 10 people surveyed within LinkedIn's algorithm show that they feel less stigma around knowing somebody else who's unemployed or being quick to make a judgment around why that person might have been laid off or let go. So we all are starting to see this greater swelling of empathy and people actually wanting to help. So I think this is the biggest takeaway, is that try to override that feeling of being labeled as somebody that something might be less than with you, and lean into really reaching out and leaning on other people, because people do want to help and there are jobs out there. Q1 has seen a huge hiring boom. It might not show it because we're going to talk about it in the next point. There have been some decrease in jobs in December, but there 100% are jobs out there. You just have to be able to pivot.
And by the way, let me just tease ahead. Rita's joining us. She's got a great line on a bunch of jobs. She's been working very hard to assemble all those jobs, as you know she does. And we'll have that. There's, in fact, even I think a job fair happening, a virtual one, of course. The point that you sort of teased ahead to is the fact that there is equality. There is poverty and access issues for predominantly Black and Latinx folks. I mean, those communities bear the brunt of unemployment, and then also it's a bigger challenge of finding and securing employment again.
Roughly all of the 154,000 jobs that were reported by the U.S. Jobs Report for being lost in December, 100% of that came from women of color. So I think that this is actually something that, has been circling around. You've seen it on Instagram, all over the place. It's great. We really need to amplify this message so that especially mothers, working mothers are another huge set who've been knocked out of the workforce, so that we can specifically reach out to those groups and maybe even give them a little bit of priority and say, hey guys, we see that you're being hit the hardest. So make sure that when you're doing your hiring or you're looking, be really transparent and say, I really need this job, here's why. And then list all of that as well as all of your wonderful experience to back it up.
Absolutely. Look, there are a lot of groups out there. There's efforts, as you said, on social media. There are groups like the Urban League and other various groups that are working to make sure that, you know, those communities are getting fair access and equal access to employment and options for the future. All right, Elizabeth, look, the mindset of this. Just one more thought for folks before we head out the door, because we know, you know, I've been there. Being between jobs does a number on everything, your self-esteem, your confidence. Give them one good little nugget as they walk in today with a new mindset.
Judgment is coming from within. It's really not coming from people outside. So if you can quit criticizing and judging yourself and feeling embarrassed, you'll see that there's a big group of people out there who would love to help and support you and get you in that next role.
And Elizabeth and I send you a virtual hug. I know it's not as good as the one in person, but for now it'll have to do. Elizabeth, thank you so much. We appreciate it. A good word for our folks that are in the unemployment lane right now. It's temporary. Remember that. It's temporary. Good to see you.
Thank you, Michaela.
Stay safe.